Hello, this is Michael Roy. This is my EAD 6001 online technology for administrators course final recap. The first thing we're discussing is the leading the 21st century school standards and vision. Visionary leadership is our number one thing. These are the standards given by the ISTE. With teachers, with administrators using visionary leadership, we're looking for development of the comprehensive integration of technology within the organization. Schools are leading toward this one-to-one initiative. A lot of school districts in their vision and mission of the school is leading toward that. And it's the job of the administrator to make sure that that is running smoothly. It's also finding ways to do the background stuff, such as the purchasing of the technology, as well as upgrading the broadband for the school and the Wi-Fi, and trying to get hotspots everywhere. For many administrators, the goal is to be able to have Wi-Fi clear across campus, so if they were doing some work on their tablet or on their phones, they can continuously have internet access throughout the entirety of their walking across campus. We are in a digital age of learning. Students are already using a lot of the technology. Teachers are using more technology than ever before. We're wanting to promote and sustain that digital age learning culture. As an administrator, the ways we can do this is making sure teachers have what they need to be successful. We want to do the best we can for our students, and in this digital age that they are now living in, we've got to nurture that and care for that. We've got to create that digital citizenship, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Excellence in professional practice. Promote environment of professional learning and innovation. Technology, the whole essence of technology is about innovation. It's been that way since the 70s. We're wanting teachers to get creative, find new ways to reach their students, and technology is providing an outlet for them to do so, whether it be hands-on learning, collaboration across the school district, across the world. Frankly, students are able to collaborate with students from across the United States, across the world, across other, even just within the counties. It's getting much broader communication-wise because of this technology, and we can use those ideas and be really creative and really expanding and deepen the understanding of the curriculum itself. Systemic improvement, provide digital age leadership and management to continuously improve the organization through effective use of information and technology resources. This is still dealing with wanting to make sure that we have the tools necessary to better our students, and what can we do to make things better. With the digital citizenship is probably the most important thing, especially for teaching our students. You want to model and facilitate understanding of social, ethical, and legal issues and responsibilities to an evolving digital culture. You've got cyberbullying we've got to address. We've got to teach students how to research. We've got to teach students how to communicate properly, and to be to do their work in an ethical and legal manner, not to plagiarize work that they found online. We've got some new tools for teaching and learning. There are countless tools that students have at their fingertips, teachers as well. Ways that tech is transforming learning, and you're getting an authentic audience, information to share beyond the classroom. Students are able to collaborate across the country, other classrooms, very quickly, just with at their fingertips. With the 24/7 learning, this learning can happen at any time due to connected devices. Students that have their phones in their pockets, many of them have phones nicer than me, they're able to do things that we would have never imagined we could have done, even when I was in school not that long ago. Let's see, we've got learner agency, increased choice to pursue interests and passions. With students having technology so readily available to them, they can pursue any passion or interest that they have any interest in. It's very easy for them to get that information. And as teachers, we want to see if we can find ways to take our lessons and gear those toward those students to help them learn and have a greater understanding of what their passions are. Curiosity and inquiry. Learners develop and answer their own questions through exploration. My favorite thing, I'll ask a student a question and they will respond. I can Google that, you know, that's something just as simple as that, or ask Siri. That's probably my favorite one. Um, they're able to find answers now. Now with teachers, we've got to make sure that we're using that technology in a way that where they can't just Google the answer, but take some information that they find and come to their own conclusion. By exploring all this information and data, they're able to um, develop their own sense of understanding and provide that to the class. Creativity, using technology to create, design, and express ideas in original ways. That's the name of the game. I'm a band director. Creativity is what I do, especially in the fine arts. I can use technology any number of ways in my classrooms. I've had students that have recorded themselves performing to make little videos, whether it be an audition video. I've seen students use these technologies for their art projects as well. Finding ways to use this technology in a way that students can actually express their creativity and think outside the box. Global connections, explore diverse perspectives, connect with experts, and make new friends. That social media really can bring students together. It can also tear students apart, so you've got to be careful with that. But it allows students to reach out beyond their classroom. I've had a student once that was able to take an online lesson with a professor at a university, and the university was about 2.5 hours away, but they were able to sit down at a computer and have a digital lesson with that professor, that specializes in their instrument. I'm a trombone player, but they were a saxophone player. So there's some things I can teach them, but the saxophone professor will have a little bit more information than I could. So getting that connecting that student digitally was paramount in helping them get better as a musician. Collaboration, communication, increased teamwork and collaboration. As an administrator, we try to get teachers to collaborate. Those professional learning communities are a big part of what we do now. You can get teachers to communicate, not necessarily in person because there's busy schedules, but if they can do something like Flipgrid or just creating a messaging thread that they can communicate back and forth ideas, and we can have a full digital meeting without ever setting foot in the same room. Instructional strategies for teaching and learning. How are we reaching all learners? What teaching strategies can we utilize? We've got different kind of learners. You've got those that learn from a lecture. They've got those that learn from a seated classroom. You've got those that are working toward, they're very visual learners. When I was talking with some administrators, here in Baldwin County, we've got students that are in the K through second grade are using iPads. They've got that physical learning by using the touchpad, but also that visual stimulus to help them learn and deepen their understanding of their work. How are students learning? What can we do differently to ensure that each student learns? Finding ways where students can take what they are interested in and put that into practical learning. Students that are using technology just for the sake of writing papers, that's wasted money and time. Students can handwrite that stuff, no problem. How are we enhancing learning? So one of the things you could do is have students, we watched a video in this class about students that were taking videos of themselves and then say a picture, a softball picture. Can go back and watch that video in slow motion and frame by frame and see and calculate the velocity of the pitch based on their technique that has been meticulously analyzed. Students that shoot free throws, I've seen coaches multiple times just look at those students and give them immediate feedback on how they're doing and what could they do differently to better their shot and their technique, using technology that it matters to them. Finding a way that students can use it in a practical sense. It's not just doing word problems out of a textbook anymore. How can we reach students using technology that makes the curriculum pertinent to their learning? Strategic leadership. When seeking, excuse me, excuse me, strategic leadership. When seeking large financial investment in technology, what are some things that need to be discussed? Are things better? With this technology, are things going to be able to run smoother? Here in Baldwin County, they had moved to switch from they were MacBooks. They were one-to-one with MacBooks, which are extremely expensive. So they switched to the Chromebooks a few years ago, and I believe that things are better. One, they're lighter, they're easier to replace, they're a lot cheaper than the MacBooks were. They're not nearly as fragile, and one of the only real problem I've talked with the help desk at Foley High School was, he spends a lot of time changing passwords because kids forget things. That's really it. They're not really worried about viruses because of it's not like a hard drive computer at all. So a lot of those things, the background work, legwork on these things is a lot less because of them. Did it make something happen that couldn't be done before? Absolutely. You've got collaboration with those things. You can pop up the messaging center, and you can do chats across the room using your Google stuff to Google Hangouts to discuss things across the room. Helping students to collaborate in classroom and projects. What's the total cost of the ownership? You're not just talking about buying the technology. You're talking about getting hotspots and getting the Wi-Fi updated, the broadband, the virus protection, the legal licenses, all of these things add up. It's not just a matter of purchasing the computers themselves or the iPads or whatever it is you're using at your school, the projectors. What is the total cost of ownership? That needs to be discussed and analyzed, because I was talking with the principal here, and he said, in hindsight, the MacBooks were not financially a good idea. They're very expensive, and just did not do what some of the things that the Chromebook, which is a lot cheaper, can do now for our students. Where are the funds coming from? Is there a technology budget? How often is it updated? What's the technology plan for the district needs to be addressed? Can grants be written to get more technology? These are things that administrators need to look into to better their students and better their school districts. Increasing communication to build community. Communication can make or break a school district and community. Society is more connected now than in previous generations. Social media has really been, for a lot of administrators, one of the biggest headaches. People can say whatever they want online, and there are people that believe that if it's online, it's the gospel. That's a problem. So one of the things that schools can do is to use apps like Remind 101 or even Facebook and Twitter, and giving live updates about what's happening in schools, announcements. As for the band standpoint, we have a band of 255 students. And if all 255 students need to wear the same shirt on the same day for game days, we need to remind them. And we send out reminds, and it's a text messaging system that works. All the students get them, their parents get them, and we can get all that stuff done. Coordinating that many students is quite a challenge, but it can be easily done when using some of this technology to build that community and build that communication. You need to humanize your organization. It helps build loyalty and helps build vision, buy-in. Parents want to be involved in their school, in their child's schooling. They want to be in the know. Okay. Sometimes the school can be very overwhelming for families and for parents. They're not sure what to do or how to do it. But by showing that, teachers are people, and they're here to help the students, having that communication with parents on a regular basis can really build up your school. And when parents know what's going on and letting them even be part of the vision and mission for the school, you're going to get a lot more backing on your projects and on your school as a whole. Last thing we're going to discuss, digital citizenship. What is that? And, what do students need to know? What administrators need to know? Digital access. Not everyone has technology. There's been times where teachers want to do a technology-based project, but a student does not have a device. So we're hoping, a lot of teachers and a lot of buildings and schools are using that, moving to a one-to-one and purchasing more and more technology for their schools, so that everyone can have technology. I've had parents, whenever Remind first came out, parents were like, I'm not paying for that text messaging, and how did you get into that conversation very quickly? It can be very touchy at times. So in order to keep the financial burden off of families, we've got to find ways to get technology in the hands of kids and in families. So, switching to the Chromebooks, where students actually, they take them home every day. They have the charger at their home that was provided by the school. All of these things are really better for students. It's better for schools, better for families. Digital commerce. We need to educate students on the dangers of buying and selling online. I've looked at, online stores before, eBay. I always look at reviews before I buy from any particular seller. I've never bought anything on Craigslist or Facebook store just because it just seems so sketchy to me, and I'm very cautious personally. But are students that cautious? Do they know what to look for? Are they familiar with reviews, or do they know these people they're going to be buying from or selling to? Digital communication, understanding what is appropriate communication. This is a big hot topic, especially when it comes from teachers talking with students in digital communication. How to keep students safe, how to keep teachers safe in these types of things. What is that appropriate communication? What does it look like? How is it done? How is it documented? Also wanted to talk to students about, how do they communicate with their friends online, or through the Snapchat or the Instagram. We want to keep students safe at all times, and it's hard to do that when they're out on the World Wide Web. Digital literacy, how to access legitimate resources. When it comes to writing papers, what resources are reliable? Which ones do you want to avoid? Those are things that teachers really need to harp on to their students to avoid, Wikipedia, in my opinion, it's got its purpose, but getting information like hard evidence is not something I would use, as it can be edited. But I have told my students to use Wikipedia for their resources. If you scroll down to any article, there's resources and hyperlinks at the bottom of the page that students can use for their projects, which would be great. Digital etiquette. When to use technology and do so in a positive manner. You don't need technology for everything. Students see a lot of technology every day. They don't have to use it all the time. Okay? Teachers need to realize that. It's there as a tool. It's not the teacher. Students can use them to learn a lot of things, but there are some things that I would recommend that teachers do is to, have students do work in your class, have them do paperwork, have them sit down at a desk with other students and discuss ideas, collaborate in person. Those social skills are vitally important. Students, I've had students that don't talk very much to people, but when it comes to texting, they go crazy. They need to learn how to, in the real world, they need to learn how to communicate face to face with people. They don't have to use technology all the time. But when they do, make sure they do so in a positive manner. It can be very derogatory. At the school district I'm at, I see a lot of social media issues coming from students, and I'll have students that, take screenshots and email them to me saying, hey, this is going on. We need to address this. And I'm like, absolutely, we do need to address this. Digital law, how to share digital content legally. Plagiarism is a big issue in schools. Research papers, how are students, not breaking the law when it comes to the internet? I had a student that once told me, it's like, I didn't steal this video game off the internet. No, I borrowed it from the internet. And I told them that that's stealing and they need to discontinue doing that. And we discussed the reasons why. You don't want to take money from the creator of that video game off of, from them. They work hard for those things, and had to have a student sit down and understand why it's not okay to steal from the internet, steal from people. It's just as bad as robbing their home. Digital rights and responsibility, right to friendly communication, a responsibility to report. I just mentioned that just a little bit ago in the digital etiquette. You can communicate all you want on the internet, and you have a right to do so in a friendly manner. But you do have a responsibility to report issues with communication from the internet. You see a lot of things in the news, kids getting bullied online. It's a real problem. And they need to make sure that they are not, they're being taken care of. We've got to take care of these kids. They go through a lot, and bullying has really changed a lot since even when I was a kid. Kids would, used to just get in a fist fight and it was done, but now they torture each other through cyber bullying, and it's just, we gotta be careful with that. Digital health, aware of the physical and psychological dangers of excessive use. Students need to get up and move. I frankly loved the Pokemon Go app because it got students out of the house, got them out of the classroom, got them walking. That was a big thing. I had a student that told me that he lost weight because he was playing Pokemon Go. That's fantastic. But be aware that, if you're not getting out there and communicating with people face to face, you could be very close-minded, but also very shut off from the rest of the world. So just be careful. Digital security. Have students and teachers discuss about using difficult passwords. Having quality virus protection. There's a lot of virus protection out there, and a lot of it doesn't do much of anything. So discussing with teachers as well as students, the importance of getting quality virus protection, backing up data. I couldn't tell you how many times I did not back up my data, and that's a lesson hard learned. It's not a good thing. And also talk to students about avoiding phishing and scams. We get those spam emails about you just, send me your account information and I'm going to wire you $1 million because you are related to the Nigerian prince. No, that's not okay. So, talking to students about the importance of, keeping themselves safe online. That's probably the biggest aspect of technology in schools, is teaching students how to be digital citizens and how to protect themselves and, others. And that's the end of my project. So thank you very much, and have a great day.